Hello and welcome to Screen Hype. I am here today with the amazing Ray Chase, who is a legend in the voice acting world and is also one of the creative minds behind Data Everything, which is an amazing game. Unfortunately, Ray doesn't have a camera for today, but it is him, I promise. So, Ray, do you want to quickly introduce yourself and tell everyone a bit about Data Everything?
Absolutely. This is a game that we created over at Sassy Chap Games over the course of 7 long years. It's been a labor of love, a love for art, a love for literature, a love for absolute unhinged silliness. And I'm really happy with the reception that it's had and our amazing community who's been helping us through release, finding all these bugs, and that's my what's currently on my mind right now. But one day I'll be able to look back and enjoy all this.
So I've got to ask, what inspired you to create such a unique concept for a dating simulator? Like, what was it about? I want objects around the house, they should be dateable. How on earth did that come into play?
It just was a goofy conversation Robbie and I were having one day in a voiceover session. We were talking about like what kind of game we would want to make if we would ever make one. And, none of us have a game design background or programming or anything. But we were like, well, we do have some superpowers, which is we know a lot of voice actors. We have a good relationship with SAG-AFTRA, the union, and we know a lot of amazing, amazing artists from the convention scene. Um, and we can write. And so with those things, is that enough to make a video game? What kind of video game would that be? And it just kind of made sense that we would make a visual novel, maybe a dating sim. And Robbie was the one who said, "What about a game where I don't know, you date everything, date your table and chair?" And I went home and thought about that and said, "I think I need to make that game. I think that that title is just too good. The concept is too interesting. That game needs to be made." And the rest is history.
That is amazing. I love that. And I've got to say, as you mentioned, the fan response has been incredible. Were you expecting that kind of response, or has it exceeded expectations?
Are we allowed to curse?
It's better to keep it family friendly if that's okay.
Okay, well, the family friendly is F no. We did not expect the fan response to be like this. We thought that this was going to be a silly indie game. We thought that, some people would play it, but it's our first game that we ever made, and maybe it was a little too much and overwhelming for people. And we did not expect it to be as much of a mammoth as it is. We're just kind of blown away. We've been sitting on these characters for such a long time. So many of these things were secrets and weren't known, and all of their backstories and intricate details and wild ways that all their stories can be told. And now these things are just out there and common knowledge, and it's bizarre to have that be the case. It's a strange thing to get used to. Maybe talk to me in a year and I'll be jaded about it. But right now, I'm still amazed that like people know who the Scandalabra is and who the Hanks are, and it's kind of crazy.
Amazing. Now, going on from that, there's been so much incredible fan art created around the game, and I was wondering, do you have a favorite piece of fan art that you've seen?
Um, that is so funny. Do I have a favorite piece? I think it still goes with, and I know this is such a cop-out answer, but it is the actual truth. Every single piece is delightful to me. That the fact that like, you know what? Okay, this is yeah. Hopefully this makes me sound more honest. I've been through the fan art thing with as a voice actor. I can see fan art of my characters who I've played in media, from Noctis to Sukuna to Uzui to Nuvolette, and I've seen that, and that feels really special. Whenever you see someone who took the time to put together some beautiful art in all sorts of different media, from crochet to them recording an audio drama, and that feels special. That doesn't compare to seeing someone create an art for a character that you made. That is insane to me. I don't know if I will ever get used to that. And it is, I've definitely burst into tears a couple of times at some of these fan meetups going, holy shit, this is real. That's a lot.
I love that you've had that. like recognition of what an incredible game you've created. And however, as with any project, I am assuming that there were some ideas that had to be cut. So I'm curious, what were some major differences between the initial conception of Data Everything and the sort of finished product we're seeing today?
I'm really happy with the cuts that happened and the way that it transformed over the years. When we first started, we we had we had it much more of like escape room elements to it, where there was lots of puzzles to be solved, and you had to get everything in the right order. And our lead artist Nijuku came back with the amazing feedback. When do I get to date the hot people? And she was absolutely right. So we kept some of those elements, but they're very, very small, very, very light, very easy, and hopefully not progression blocking. And we were able to focus on what made this game great, which is talking to hot people. There, as far as characters who we had to cut, we it wasn't so much that characters were cut, is that they kind of molded themselves into each other. It was really important to me that each character was completely distinct, not only in appearance and voice and things like that, but in terms of thematic consistency, that not everyone was telling the same story, or if they had similar stories, they were told and through gameplay in different ways. Um, and that was where we had a lot of characters who we had to cut. Dina the dresser, who was our dresser character who wanted to make you look good. We already had that kind of thing going on in a bunch of different other characters, and so she was cut. But thankfully, that gave us the character Damon the Glitch, who is thematically unique, and talks about how they were cut from the game and became something altogether different. I would say that was one of our most visible cuts. But other ones would be, we had a Soap character who we eventually downgraded into Sudsy, who's part of Sinclair's story, and maybe a couple others like that.
Thank you for sharing the backstory on Dina and Damon. That was actually really interesting to
Hmm.
hear about. And you mentioned that there were sort of like more puzzle elements. Do you reckon there'd ever be an Escape Everything spin-off in the future?
Escape everything? I don't think so. I think we lean into what we do well, which is talking to hot people. We'll stick with what we're good at.
Well, you are definitely very good at that because one of the major draws of this game is, of course, the phenomenal list of voice actors. Now, how did you decide who to include? Did you always intend to have like everything fully voiced? Because like even like the narration and everything, that every single line of dialogue in the game is fully voiced, and that's such a huge undertaking. Was that
Yeah.
always the intention?
That was always the intention. It was very expensive to do so and very difficult, but so worth it to keep people engaged. I have to say one thing that surprised me. I was expecting, and it's from QAing and playing this game myself on my own. We're always skipping through the dialogue because we're testing a certain bug or something, a certain pathway, and we're watching QA testers play it, and they're zooming through the game at top speed. I'm like, yeah, nobody's really gonna care about all of our voice lines. That's okay. And every single streamer I've seen plays every single voice line all the way through, is super respectful, and really enjoys listening to every single line all the way through. And that is, it just makes me so happy because it took forever to record all of those and put them in and schedule everybody and everything like that. So I'm really, really happy. That was a good surprise from release.
Were there any voice actors who you wanted to join the game, but when you reached out, they weren't available? And did you then sort of cut the characters or just replace them with different voice actors?
We had a couple of characters like that for sure. We have, there was talent that we were asking for all around the world, who weren't able to record at that certain moment. But all of these characters were designed way before we had any voice actors. So if they weren't available, then we had somebody else. I have to say, I know I talk about Michael Lors a lot, but I'm so impressed. Completely unknown actor. We had a celebrity talent who wasn't able to make it for Lux. And so we had open auditions, and Michael came in and is just such a standout talent, makes every single line into its own story. Never lets a beat go by without letting it simmer into something beautiful. So I'm so happy that we were able to get lesser known talent and give them a place to shine. Shine on, Luxies.
I've definitely been enjoying Michael's like behind the scenes videos he's been doing in character as Lux on
He's
Instagram.
amazing.
They've been absolutely
Truly
brilliant.
amazing. Yeah.
No, I've heard there are over 1.2 million words in the game, and how on earth did you manage to stay on top of all those different lines and ensure there were no story conflicts anywhere, like with that much dialogue?
Um, there were 1.6 million words when it finally came out. I think that 1.2 was before we added a whole bunch of other stuff before release. It's a very it was very hard. That's all I have to say. It just was difficult. At a certain point, I had to, I programmed the whole story myself, and it was something that we thought we were going to share among a lot of different people, and we had a lot of just a lot of disparate writers writing all online, pushing things into the Discord, but information was really hard to distribute to everybody. And so there had to be a central repository for everything. And about halfway through development, I was like, all right, I'm just going to do this. I'll be the one who has to decide where people are butting up on other players' stories, where a certain story variable needs to be put into another character's story. It was just so much easier to do that than rather have this spreadsheet with a million editors and nobody knows what anything is or what the state is on anything. And it was hard. It was just really hard. It's I don't know if there's ever quite been a visual novel with this many variables. There's over 2,000 variables. Maybe like a Baldur's Gate has something like that, but then they have a team and a very, very large budget. And we really just are a shoestring budget with a couple of us working on it at any given time. So it's a miracle that the game works as well as it does. I'm highly aware of the current bugs, but thankfully they are all very late game and conditional ones at this point.
I mean, well done for making it as organized as you did. Like 1.6 million was even crazier than I'd realized.
Yeah,
So I
no.
have to ask: is there a particular character who you feel is most like your personality in real life?
I should be aware of these questions are there. I'm really good at answering the ones that are like informational, but the fun ones I always struggle with. Who am I most like? Who am I most like? You can date Ray in the game. Yeah, that's the answer. You can date Ray Chase in the game. You can date the devs through our Sassy Chap, one of our more secret characters. And you can date myself. And my story in that is I come up and say I'm going to be the final boss. I've got this really cool idea that I came up with that's going to be a really intricate story to tell, and then you finally come up to me and I say I'm tired. I don't want to. Here you can have a love point if you want, and that's me. That's the closest you've got. Just dreams very big and is very very tired in the end.
I love it. And I'm afraid I've got another fun one for you, which is if you were
Uh-oh.
going to date one of the characters in real
It's an
life,
easy one.
who would you feel like would be the
No,
easiest
I
for
got
you
this.
to be in a
I got
relationship
this.
with?
Oh, it's so good. I got the answer for this one. It's my wife, Julia McIlvaine. She plays Celia the Ceiling, who is the mayor of the household. Celia looks imposing, but she is kind. She's loving. She is stern but fair, and she has my heart. So I absolutely would date Celia.
That is the sweetest answer. I adore that. If you were going to create future DLC for Date Everything, do you have a particular theme that you would want it to be around?
Future DLC. Um, Boy, here's what oh man, I don't want to be quoted on this, but here's what it would be. It was really hard to make this a 3D visual novel, which is a really, really difficult thing to do. So if I want a future DLC, it has to be whatever's the easiest, which is all of the characters are just bodiless. They don't exist in the house, so we don't have to work on making animations and sounds for every single object all over again. So it'd be characters like existential dread, sassy chap, things like that, just so that I could at least breathe for a second.
That is fair enough. I mean, you put so much effort in the game. I can see why you would want to avoid going down that deep detail again. Now, I'm afraid I'm going to segue in a completely different direction now because I want to talk about some of your other voice acting work, in particular X-Men '97, where you played Cyclops, I believe. So
Hmm.
it is such a legendary franchise, and I grew up with the animated series, and so seeing it brought back was just so exciting to me. And you did such a phenomenal job with it. So what was it like
Thank
getting
you.
to take on such an iconic role?
Um, I gotta say, this was a property that I was unfamiliar with when I had first found out about it. I didn't know really anything about X-Men. I grew up watching anime, playing video games and stuff like that, so I didn't know a lot about superheroes. So I did the audition, just taking it kind of casually. And then after I booked it, then I was like, all right, what is Cyclops all about? And then I bought Eric and Julia Lewald's book, previously on X-Men, which details the importance of that show, the original '90s show, and how much it contributed to Western animation. And I suddenly had a greater understanding of like what I was getting into. And so I read the comics, got really invested into it, and wanted to tell the story that the fans absolutely deserved. And I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, it turned out amazing. I mean, like I said, I grew up with the show, and so when it brought back, I was like excited and nervous at the same time in case it didn't carry on. But yeah, you did such a
Hmm.
great job at sort of taking the original characters and bringing them into sort of a new story. So yeah, huge well done on that. So you are pretty much royalty in the voice acting world. I was taking a look at your IMDb, and it's just like pages and pages and pages. And I was wondering, do you have any particular past projects that really stick out to you as pivotal moments in your career?
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, it's there's nothing that can compare to working on a Final Fantasy as the main character. It's a small club that we're in, and something that I just feel immense joy and pride at being a part of. Playing Noctis was 3 of the best years of my life, working with the same people every day in studio and getting to tell a really beautifully told story from the heart. And that I think was the one that there's never been anything like that since. Sure, there's stuff that might have been watched or played more, but as far as the actual working on something, telling a story in order over years, a reliable job, is the rarest thing in the world, and I'm so happy to be a part of that.
Thank you so much, Ray. That is all the questions for today. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys very much for watching as well. Please do like the video, drop a comment down below with your favorite character that Ray has ever played, and subscribe to the channel for more fun videos in the future. Bye bye.